The guy that wants to be your vice president, calling the #1 entrepreneur in America that gay guy. You understand how weird that is?
So
I'd never do that to Adam. He's calling him that gay guy.
That gay guy.
Crazy.
You've never said that. You've never said that.
Adam, how do you feel about that gay guy comment that Tim Walz just made?
Listen, I'm going to just quote Elon Musk on this, right? I got no problem being called gay.
Meet Tim Walz, or at least the version you think you know. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, Patrick Bet David arrives tossing revelations hotter than a sizzling quesadilla, shaking the story in ways no one saw coming. This isn't your usual tale of a politician getting poked fun at. Instead, Patrick pulls back the curtain on a side of Tim Walz that few imagined was even there. Forget about stiff, buttoned-up debates. Get ready for a chaotic ride, startling truths, and a reality check that leaves you asking, hold on, was that really Tim Walz all along?
I got a question for you. You know, we watch you to see, how much ruckus and chaos you create sometimes. Why do you ask such a technical question from, the former VP candidate, Tim Walz? I want to start off with this, if you don't mind, because this is an offensive question. I mean, you can ask some subtle questions, but Rob, if you can play this, the audience is deep.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your support goes further than you might think. Now let's shift the focus to Tim Walz. On the surface, he looks like your standard Midwestern politician, plain as a half-cold bowl of oatmeal, sporting the safest haircut imaginable and a tie collection that could put anyone to sleep. But Patrick Bet David isn't buying the grandpa next door image. He starts peeling back the polished layer, and what he uncovers feels more like a bizarre carnival than a tidy front porch. And let's be clear, it's far from ordinary, and it's certainly not pleasant.
For everybody, how often do you talk and say something like, hey, Vinny, you know that gay guy? You ever talk to people like that?
Never.
I'm just curious, do you talk like that? Do you talk like that? Maybe you're watching this, you're like, I don't want to admit to it because I'm sitting in the bathroom watching this, but just yesterday I told my brother that gay guy. Okay, maybe that's you. That's okay. But guess what? Don't feel bad. Because somebody that's about to be your vice president also says that regularly. He says it so regularly that it's slipped up on stage. This is not even what
For years, Walz has sold the image of being the perfect small-town dad. The guy flipping burgers at the block party and tossing out cheesy jokes at the PTA meeting. But when you strip away that Midwestern charm, like peeling off stubborn duct tape, a messy picture starts to show. It makes you wonder, is he an underrated performer who's been acting the whole time, or is he simply stumbling through each day without a plan?
What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well, that.
What do you want me to say?
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman.
Patrick doesn't hold back. Walz comes across as the kind of guy who rewrites the rules halfway through the match, charging into political battles with the same energy as an overzealous Little League parent. 1 minute, he's trying to be everyone's moral guide. The next, he's twisting himself into whatever shape earns the loudest applause. It's as if he collects a stack of political catchphrases and spits them out like a broken toy, trying to sound convincing.
Which kind of worked in your favor. But Rob, if you want to play this clip, he called Elon Musk.
Pat, don't judge me.
I would never do that.
He never judges you. How long have you known that?
I would never do that. Rob, play this clip.
So poorly, not only did we lose 10 million jobs, we were pitted into a hunger game against our neighbors to find toilet paper. That's how bad it was. So now, I suppose it wasn't too bad, thinking back to that economy. If you're a billionaire, Elon Musk, for example, say, that guy got it. Michigan knows that word. Look, that dude got a tax cut in the...
Let's be clear. Walz isn't just some clumsy character stumbling around by accident. It's almost as if he wakes up every morning, stares in the mirror, and thinks, how can I throw people off today while pretending I'm not even trying? That's his entire act. On paper, his role as a representative sounds impressive. But once you look closer, it feels like he's crafted a persona straight out of a bargain bin Netflix series, complete with stiff handshakes, overly friendly smiles, and the occasional baseball cap cameo. Every move seems scripted. Patrick points out that even his photo ops scream less average guy next door and more aspiring strategist juggling political acrobatics. Walz wants to project the image of the wise uncle at a barbecue, but instead he comes off as the one who drones on about half-baked theories. Thanksgiving before dozing off in the recliner before 8 p.m. That's the real energy here. And Patrick doesn't just hint at it, he practically lights up a neon sign. This guy isn't who you think he is. Walz himself seems to embrace it, boasting in his own way, "I've perfected being aggressively bland." And that's no small task. Imagine working overtime just to become known as the human version of an unseasoned cracker. Yet somehow, that's exactly who Walz manages to be.
And what do you call it? And Tim Walz were playing video games.
Playing Madden 25 live streaming during NFL Sunday, which is the chief strategist and campaign manager for the Harris campaign, completely like when you talk about their messaging, Pat, they're playing Madden live during NFL Sunday, and people were taking photos. Like, obviously the internet's relentless. His controller wasn't even on. And the end of the game, Pat, after playing for hours, guess what the score was?
They killed it. It was like a
0-0. And all they were talking about was Project 20.
What's almost comical is how Walz doesn't fully fit with either camp, his fans or his critics. To those who oppose him, he's a political illusionist, pulling rabbits out of hats nobody wanted. To his supporters, he's a kind-hearted reformer trying to fix things gently. Patrick, though, shuts that all down. Nope, he's neither. Instead, he paints Walz as a man who thrives on keeping everyone guessing while pretending to simply do his job. The contradictions pile up fast. He might call for unity at breakfast and then stir division by lunch. He waves the banner of small-town values while sipping from the chalice of big-league politics. Watching him is like seeing someone attempt to play Monopoly and Uno at the same time and losing at both. Patrick argues that leadership, governing, or even straightforward communication aren't Walz's strong suits. Survival is. He morphs into whatever character the moment requires, the hopeful dreamer, the gentle dad figure, or the tough-talking leader. It's less inspiring than it sounds, more like a politician who's mastered the art of shape-shifting. And yet, there's a kind of twisted skill in it. It takes effort to look steady while giving the impression you just wandered into the scene by accident. That's Walz in a nutshell, projecting confidence while radiating the vibe of someone who misplaced their car keys 5 minutes ago.
I am most proud of is because of all the things Donald Trump has stolen. Because this started, and I love this story as a young prosecutor.
What did he say?
Because this started, and I love this story.
Patrick delivers his take like someone laying out evidence at a family intervention, every point carefully stacked. The conclusion? Tim Walz isn't the stable leader many assume he is. He's more like that office worker who looks authoritative but has been improvising for years without ever getting caught. And when you think about it, it adds up. On the surface, Walz keeps a friendly, approachable image, but Patrick points out that beneath it all, he's carefully hiding the fact that he's just making things up as he goes. And strangely enough, that's almost impressive. After all, if you can convince an entire state that you're both a fearless leader and a wise father figure, while making choices that contradict both, you've pulled off something closer to magic than politics. Only this magician doesn't use hats or rabbits. His tricks are slogans, shifting policies, and rehearsed explanations. Patrick paints Walz as a master of political misdirection. His ability to blend into any environment explains why so many still can't pin him down. He plays the role of the calm captain at the wheel, even while blaming the map for steering straight into icebergs. And Patrick is clear this isn't a misunderstanding. If you see his playbook as one built on managed confusion, you're reading him exactly right. The formula is simple: unsettle just enough, appear caring, and add a splash of Midwestern dad charm so no one realizes how drastically you're switching roles.
$1 billion in taxes, Tim. How much have you paid in taxes? He's created hundreds of thousands of jobs. He was able to get a rocket to go and come back in 1/20th of a cost of NASA. When Boeing said, let's leave those couple people up there, we need till next year, he says, I can come and help. When you needed battery chargers nationwide, he already thought about that 15 years ago. When Zelensky, the greatest beggar fundraiser in the world, needed to get some money and they talked shit about Elon, you know who gave them Starlink? Elon did. Internet. That's the guy? That's the gay guy? The guy with 11 kids is a gay guy? That's the guy. Really? How many gay guys do you know running 5 different multi-billion-dollar companies?
Perhaps the most surprising part, people keep buying it. Walz hasn't just executed a relentless political improv, he's convinced voters he's the safe, reliable option. That's not luck, that's calculated hustle. Patrick Bet David's breakdown is so clear it leaves you thinking, now it all makes sense. He lifts the curtain to reveal the truth. Walz isn't the composed leader everyone imagines. He's more like the person in the back, juggling plates while smiling as if everything's fine. Once you see it, there's no going back. Walz isn't inherently popular. His image is carefully curated for the cameras. Patrick highlights his chaotic, contradictory, and improvised performance, which undermines the polished facade he presents. The shocking part? How obvious it all becomes once the pattern is visible. Walz isn't a genius with a master plan. He's more like your Wi-Fi. Strong signal one moment, dead zone the next. Yet somehow, people keep paying attention as if nothing's amiss. Patrick makes it clear, Walz's survival isn't due to brilliance, it's mastery of just enough. His mix of charm, energy, and mediocrity is finely tuned, leaving people to shrug and say, at least he's not making things worse. It's a performance that works precisely because it feels safe, even when the reality is far messier than anyone realizes.
Carefully, and I had played it back a couple times, but you sounded upset.
What happened?
If I sounded pissed off, it's because I was. No, it's just like, he just ended his presidential career. I mean, there is no 2028 for Tim Walz. I buried him that day. Now, you have all these witnesses, these people that come to these big committees before Congress. They testify under oath. It's very, very public. And they spend millions of dollars to prepare for these hearings, for the toughest questions. What they're not ready for are for the dumbest questions, the most simple, most common sense questions. And so this is just a thing I've taken up on. I just ask Democrats when they come before me, what's a woman? And they just cannot answer
Who's
the
answered
question.
Who have you noticed that is actually willing to be reasonable and give the answer?
Nobody.
Are you serious?
No, I'm dead.
The most alarming part? Sometimes he's actively setting things ablaze and yet convinces everyone it's just part of the neighborhood BBQ. Take his speeches. Walz doesn't inspire, he lulls. They're quieter than folding laundry, with less excitement than a slow elevator ride. Patrick points out that if Walz were to announce a real crisis, half the crowd would probably think he meant the nearest gas station. It's political elevator music, present but easily forgotten. And that's exactly the point. Walz thrives in the haze. He doesn't need to rally you, he just needs you confused or disengaged enough to overlook the contradictions. While flashing his practiced smile and giving a cliched unity speech, he quietly buries accountability, hiding conflicting policies behind a polished shell game. Patrick doesn't mince words. Walz is less a leader and more a political illusionist. His polite Midwestern demeanor is a deliberate distraction as he rearranges the room behind the curtain. And somehow, it works. People leave thinking, wow, what a wholesome guy, oblivious to having signed off on a dozen contradictory decisions in a single afternoon. The paradoxes trail him like unpaid parking tickets. He spins as if he's won the lottery while preaching frugality. He promises transparency, yet turns press briefings into foggy performances. The contradictions aren't hidden, they're orchestrated, and most never catch on.
In the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will.
Walz's record reads like a roller coaster designed by someone who's never seen a flat track, even though he projects calm and reliability. Patrick uses dry humor to expose this pattern. No shouting needed. The clues are subtle, but once you notice them, Walz stops being mysterious. He's both predictable and paradoxical, a political Schrodinger's cat, simultaneously in charge and clueless. The absurd part? People buy it. Somehow, Walz convinces voters he's the safe choice, like a babysitter who lets kids eat candy for dinner and watch scary movies but ensures nobody gets hurt. He's the duct tape of politics, holding things together despite being messy and temporary. Patrick emphasizes that Walz's radicalism isn't what makes him dangerous, it's his forgettable nature. While the public dozes off, key decisions slip by unnoticed, and Walz exploits that. His boredom is his superpower. He doesn't need applause, he just needs distraction. It's then the real Tim Walz starts to show. Beneath the awkward dad jokes and grandfatherly smiles, he wields political blandness like a tool. With a casual shrug and a cheesy story about his roots, he quietly wins people over. Patrick almost yells the warning, this isn't authenticity, it's strategy. Every smile, every pause, every cliche is part of the plan. Walz's charm isn't real, it's carefully constructed, and it works remarkably well.
Feet away from becoming the vice president of the United States of America. And you can't define a woman. And if you can't define a woman, then you definitely can't define our rights as women. You definitely can't protect us as women. You can't protect our daughters. You can't protect me.
Whether, it was because of that question or not, if he would ever be president, because the way he handled himself in the debate with J.D. Vance, that was that's probably the worst debate performance I've ever seen, aside from Joe Biden's debate with the president. The first one where within the first 30 seconds, you're like, this is not good.
Think about it. Sincerity is messy. It hesitates, admits errors, and doesn't always land perfectly. Walz, by contrast, delivers a version of realism that feels strangely composed. Like a sitcom character who always says exactly the right thing, Patrick exposes it for what it really is: stagecraft, a carefully orchestrated act designed to convince us he's just one of us. Patrick doesn't cast Walz as a villain, even though his campaign reads like a political handbook. Instead, what frustrates him is how Walz maintains a consistent, low-profile appearance without ever drawing attention. He isn't driving change, he's controlling the vibe. Each folksy smile is another layer hiding the improvisation happening behind the scenes. The key insight? Tim Walz isn't exceptional, nor is he particularly talented. Patrick sees him as the most underrated type of political operator, the unremarkable survivor. He plays it safe, stays elusive, and lets others underestimate him. In the end, he leaves a trail of quiet confusion, a legacy of bewilderment that works perfectly for someone who has mastered the art of being unnoticed while still holding power.
This is a knucklehead. That's not us talking, that's him talking. We saw him get picked, and we saw Odd dancing, kicking his foot, yanking his son, who is a special needs individual, and us all wondering, what is this all about? And then say, well, maybe when he tightens up the suit a little bit, puts on that tie, and sits in the VP debate, maybe we'll see the real one. And then they asked him, did you or did you not go to China? He gave a 2-minute answer instead of just saying, yeah,
Rather than simply dissecting Walz as an individual, Patrick Bet-David's most revealing critique targets the very system that allows someone like him to flourish. It's a political environment where blending into the background, being aggressively beige, proves far more effective than bold, decisive action. In this world, politicians like Tim Walz coast for years, convincing voters that forgettable equals trustworthy, and where survival is often more valued than leadership or vision. Patrick's point is clear. The problem isn't just Walz, it's the mechanics of a system that rewards quiet improvisation and punishes true originality. Think about it. Walz projects the image of the small-town affable father figure, the guy grilling burgers at block parties, telling corny jokes at PTA meetings, always with that practiced, approachable smile. On the surface, he seems dependable, ordinary, even harmless. But strip away that Midwestern charm and the truth emerges he's a master of political misdirection. He juggles contradictions effortlessly, presenting unity in the morning only to sow discord by midday, maintaining an air of control while improvising every step of the way. Patrick's analysis exposes him as a political illusionist, blending his bland persona with a calculated charm that distracts from conflicting policies, questionable decisions, and improvisation in real time. The most astonishing part? People continue to buy it. Walz has convinced voters that his blandness is stability, his cautious approach is wisdom, and his forgettable nature is a virtue. Yet behind the smiles, the dad jokes, and the khakis is the longest-running improvisation act in American politics. The amiable small-town father is a facade. What we are witnessing is a man who has perfected the art of saying everything while revealing nothing. A political magician thriving in plain sight, navigating the system by exploiting obscurity and surviving where others would fail. Patrick's ultimate takeaway: next time Walz steps onto the stage, remember, the illusion is deliberate, the calm is calculated, and the man beneath the surface has been quietly performing this act for years.